guys, it's your girl Mitch here, back on YouTube. As you guys can tell by the title, I will be doing a story time. Something happened to me at work. This is going to be a really interesting video, so please subscribe, please give it a thumbs up, and get your popcorn or chips ready. Okay, so I used to be a host at this Mexican restaurant, and I was working there for like about 6-7 months until I quit. There's actually 2 reasons on why I actually quit. Okay, so the first time, okay, so let me go back. Okay, so I was working there, and then my manager had told me, oh my god, we need somebody else, you know, we need a new host. And so at that time he asked me if I knew anyone, and I was like, I really don't have anyone in mind besides my sister. The only problem is she's only 15. Okay, he then says it's okay, I can train her, and you know, she wouldn't even need an application besides like after the process of me training her. After the process of the process of me training her, then she'd had to fill out an application, and so she did. And you know, it's like me and my sister, we start working, we start having the same shifts, okay? And then I think it's like 2 months passes by, and you know, we're loving this job, we're like, it's good, you know, like the pay is really good, the tips is really good, and we're like not bothered at all. And then somebody else comes in, and okay, so let's call him Fabian, okay? So this person, Fabian, comes in, and I need to start training him, okay? And then there's other 2 people that are involved in this video too, and let's call them Viviana and Becky, okay? Okay, so this is between Fabian, Viviana, and Becky, okay? And so my bad. Okay, so then have in mind that Fabian is a food runner, and Becky and Viviana are waitress, okay? And so when everything is so busy, me and my sister, which we are the host, we also have to help and clean up some tables for the food runners, and for the, you know, basically we're helping them out, okay? Because there is some times where we have nothing to do, so in the meantime we help them clean some tables, okay? And so nobody liked Fabian, okay? And he was actually like a nice going person, and the only thing on why people hated him was because he loved to talk so much. Like, there wasn't a day where he did not talk whatsoever. Okay, so so Fabian would, you know, clean the tables also, although he was a food runner. And then so Becky, I think this was Becky's table, okay? So apparently the people had finished eating, they left some tips, you know, whatsoever, they left, you know. So me and my sister went to go help and clean the table. Next thing you know, we finish, we leave the tips, the receipt, and, well, basically the checkbook there, okay? We do not touch it at all. We go back to our station, and then you know, we hear them, or we don't hear them, we see them like huddle, you know, all the waitress. And so me and my sister, you know, probably, you know, like we literally thought they were talking about us. They didn't look at us, you know, they were just huddling, they were like, you know, doing their own thing, whatever. But we thought they were talking about us, and so we go over there and we're like, what's going on, you know? The only person that was not there was the manager, okay? So everyone else, including Fabian, Viviana, and Becky, were there, okay? And so me and my sister go, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, well, you cleaned the table, so you tell us what's going on. We're like, what do you mean? We know you took my tip money. Like, I need my tip money back. And I was like, what the hell? Like, we had no idea what they were talking about. And so me and my sister knew that we did not take anything at all. We're like, really? You think we're the ones that took it? Why don't you go check the cameras, you know? Because we had cameras like every corner. And so it was pretty obvious that it wasn't us, you know, because we were like, the cameras are right there. Why would we take something like that, you know? And plus, we had our own tip money. Like, what the hell? And so, then that's when me and my sister noticed that Fabian is, you know, acting so weird, you know? And so me and my sister go back to our station, and Fabian comes, and he's all like, what was that all about? Like, I came in late into the huddle, like, what happened, you know? And so me and my sister, like, explained, and we told him, and okay, and so this is the part where Fabian gets, you know, he turns so red, and that's when me and my sister look at each other, and we're like, do you think what I'm thinking, you know? And then, so we tell him what happened, and, like, you know, and then, and so literally all the waiters, like, all the waitresses, you know, they went to go look everywhere, and, like, they even looked in the trash can, you know, like, literally in places you wouldn't even imagine that they were going to be there, okay? And so once we tell Fabian, he leaves, you know, and so it's the kitchen, the hallway, another hallway, the bar, and the tables, and then where me and my sister are. And so on the hallway, there's usually a trash can there, and so Fabian starts walking that way, and then out of nowhere he's like, did you guys check the trash can? Like, maybe it's in that trash can. And so Becky went to go look. It was Becky and Viviana went to go look together, because Becky and Viviana were like, you know, they were like they were like best friends, although they were some years apart, you know, but they were like best friends. They were like so close with each other. So they both went to go look in the trash can, and apparently the money was there, wrapped in a napkin. You guys probably think what I think, and it was so obvious it was Fabian. So they ended up checking the cameras, and it was Fabian. So he had a talk with the manager and, like, the boss and the boss's wife, and, like, you know, it was like a family restaurant that was owned by a family. And so they literally all had a talk with him, like, you know, and I guess it, like, I'm assuming they told him it's never gonna happen again, like, you know, because he ended up not getting fired, you know. And so yeah, that happened. The thing is that me and my sister, we did not like the fact that they thought it was me and my sister. We're like, are you guys kidding me, you know? And so it was kind of like, we were kind of like both over it. We're like, do we even want to stay here, like, you know? And so we thought it was like a way of them getting to us, like, for us to get fired or something. I don't know, but ended up not being us, and so they apologized. And the next thing was different people, and it just involved me, not my sister. So when this happened, my sister and I didn't have the same shifts anymore. So this one it was during the weekend because I remember I was working late shifts and my sister was working morning shift during the weekend. So so this involved me, it involved this other dude. Let's call him Carlos, okay? There's another dude involved. Let's call him Bob, I guess, whatever. Okay, so it's me, Carlos, and Bob, okay? So have in mind that Carlos and Bob they work in the kitchen, okay? And so, okay, so then I was, me doing my same thing as a host, okay? And so every lunch break, Bob, well, it was like if he already knows my lunch schedule, when I have my break, and and so every time I was about to take my lunch break, he comes towards me and he comes to like my station on like where I am, And so he's like, he said, "Oh, hi girl, are you gonna want anything for me to make you for lunch, And so at first I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty hungry, And so I ended up getting some tacos. I never forget what I ordered because this was a story that I will never forget. So I ended up getting tacos. So he brings me my lunch and he's like, this is a very special plate just for you, girl, okay? And so, and I was like, oh, okay, thanks. I didn't see anything bad about it. Like, he was just my coworker. Like, I didn't see anything, bad, or like, I didn't see anything was gonna happen between us, okay? And so, we start talking to each other, like, in work, okay? And just at work, like, we didn't even hang out outside of work. We didn't talk outside of work, and like, he was just a outgoing person, but right after things that were happening to me, I was like, okay, this is a creeper. Like, I need to leave, like, I don't want to be near him. So it's being, continuous, where he starts coming every time I had a lunch break. So he brings me food and and I was like, whoa, like this is going too far, And so he had made me some food. He made me some food, and he was like, oh, I made these just for you. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like, I brought my own lunch, And he was like, come on, take them, And I was like, for real, I brought my own lunch. And this was like at a point where I was like, what if he's putting something in my food? Like, I don't want to take anything from him anymore. And like, I started bringing my own lunch, And it was at a point where he started getting bothered the fact that I would reject his food. And I was like, what is there to be mad? I brought my own food, And so he was like, it's rude not to take something from other people that are offering you. And I was like, I don't see how that's rude. Like, I brought my own lunch, but okay, I'll take it, And so I took it, but I didn't even need it. I put it under this cabinet that we have where we put our stuff away. And so I put it under there, and he walked away. And so it was time where I had to be closing up soon, okay? And so I start cleaning up, and so I start closing the restaurant, and then he was all like, what are you doing later this weekend? And so I told him I had a very busy schedule, and I asked why. He was like, oh, because I was gonna ask a pretty girl out to dinner. And then I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, And plus he was so ugly, so I was like, no. And so I close up, and I'm like, I check out, and I'm like, okay, bye, I'm leaving, guys. See you guys tomorrow, And then they're like, okay, bye, see you tomorrow. And okay, so I start going outside, and I go through like the main entrance, and I start heading out. And he starts to get out too, but he starts to get out through the, around, through the other side, because there's a door by like the kitchen. so where that way you can go out to the patio. And so I get out from one side and he gets out from the other, so when we leave, you know, we like see each other like at a point, you know. And so he was like, oh, where are you going? And that day I remember I did not drive myself, so I was waiting for a ride. And he's all like, oh, and I told him, oh, I'm waiting for my ride. He was like, oh, do you need a ride? And I'm like, no, I'm okay, thank you, you know. And then he was like, okay, so did you think about, you know, dinner with me later next week? And I was like I already told you I can't, you know. I'm very busy that week. And then he's all like, he started like going off, and he's like, how come you don't want to go out with me? Like, you know, like, am I really that ugly? Like, you know. And I was like, there's literally no reason. Like, I just don't want to go out. And so we ended there. And then I walk to, oh no, okay, so then the next day, I go in and he doesn't even ask me for lunch or like, you know, and I was like, oh my God, thank God, you know. And then he comes towards my station. He comes towards my station like maybe an hour and a half right after I have my lunch break, and he's like, did you miss me? And then he's like, if you had answered me yes about me taking you out to dinner yesterday, I would have gave you a lunch, but since you didn't, this is what you get. And I was like, what the hell, like, this is so rude, and like, well, you know, la la la. And I was like, you're so weird, like, you know. And then so I started ignoring him, and that didn't bother me at all, but it bothered him. And so he was just a creep, and I couldn't, okay. And then now what the story about Carlos was, it was kind of similar, but he was like weird, like so weird. And like, I guess you can say like a perv, you know. But okay, so Carlos, so being a host, every time I got a phone call, I had to take some to-go orders and I had to get them ready. So that meant I had to go to the kitchen, put my food to go, put it in the bag, chips, salsa, and then forks, spoons, and napkins, and everything, you know. And so so Carlos was giving me these weird looks. Every time I walked to the kitchen, he would look at me weird. I don't know about you girls, but you can instantly tell when someone is looking at you in a weird way, that you have this vibe, okay? So the way he was looking at me was so weird. He was smiling while he looked at me, and then he gave me a nickname, which was Chiquita, and I was like, whoa, you know, because I was looking for some napkins, and like, I was looking for a napkin in a container, okay, and those things were on top, you know, and I couldn't reach, and I couldn't even see if they were up there, you know, because I am pretty short compared to those cabinets. And so I tried to look, you know, and he was like, are you looking for something, Chiquita? And I'm like, no, I'm fine, you know, like, that name, like, didn't click with me. Like, I was like, ew, don't freaking call me that. Like, I gave him that look that meant, don't freaking call me that again, you know. And so, let me just go. And so I gave him that look that meant, don't fucking look at me like that again, okay? And so, I get my things, and, I leave, and then, he's the one that started telling me if I wanted some lunch, and like, you know, so I felt like it was something they were talking about, like they already knew, you know. And so the other dude, Bob, was like, what did he say? Okay, hold on, Bob. Okay, so, and then somebody else involved from the kitchen was all like, hey, don't even get at her. She's gonna tell you no, just like he told Bob, you know? And I was right there, and that fucking pissed me off. I was like, you did not freaking say that in front of everyone, you know? And so then fast forward throughout the day, and so I left. Like, I was closing up and I was about to leave, and so he does the same thing. He goes around, he goes out the other door, and so we like bump into each other. And again, I was waiting for a ride, and he was like, oh, can I take you? Where do you live? And I was like, I was not about to tell him where the fuck I live, or even close to where the fuck I live. And so he was like, come on, where do you live? I'll take you, let's go, you know? And then I was like, no, my ride's almost here, like, I don't need a ride, you know? And so and then he's all like, oh, because if you live going through this way, you know, I'm going that way too, so I'll take you, come with me, you know? And I was like, no, like, I have a ride, you know? And like, at this point, I wanted my freaking ride to like get here like ASAP, you know? And so he grabs me from my arm like this, you know? He holds me like this. Well, it was this one, because I was like this, yeah, so it was this one. And so he like grabbed me, he's like, come on, let's go. And I was like, I went like this, and I was like, don't, you, in Spanish, okay? Because this person only speaks Spanish, like, no English, you know? And so I took sand, and I was like, don't fucking touch me, you know? And then he was like, or what, you know? Like, what are you gonna do? I said, come on, I'll give you a ride, you know? Like, forcefully. And I was like, don't you ever fucking touch me again, you know? And so I felt so fucking uncomfortable. And so my ride got here, and I told my ride what happened, and that person was like, oh, hell no, like, you know, I'm gonna get the fuck out, and I'm gonna beat this fucking, you know, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. And I was like, calm down, like, I didn't even know what just happened, like, I like froze, you know? And so like, just stop, you know, let's just go, you know? And so that person was all like, no, you know? So I was like, oh my god, please don't, let's just go, you know? So I just started to get mad, because like, that person wasn't listening to me, and I was like, let's just go. And so we ended up leaving. The next day, I felt so uncomfortable that I told the manager what happened. And then I told him, like, even check the cameras, because we had cameras outside the restaurant. I was like, please check the camera. Like, if you don't believe me, like, check the cameras. This happened. Like, I don't feel uncomfortable, you know? And so I was like, please give me some days where this person doesn't work, or like, you know, or like, I'm just gonna give you my 2-week notice here, you know? And he's like, no, there's no need for you to give me your 2-week notice, like, you know, I'll fix this, you know? And so the first thing the manager did was go to him and tell him, don't you ever disrespect your coworkers that way again, you know? And so he was like, okay, I apologize, I'm sorry, you know? And then I was like, I told the manager, are you serious? That's all you're gonna do, you know? And then he said, there's really nothing I can do here, you know? And I was like, okay, well, just letting you know, I'm giving you my 2-week notice. And so it didn't even bother him whatsoever. Literally nothing. I was like, are you freaking serious? Well, you know? And so I ended up leaving before my 2-week notice, because he was making me feel really uncomfortable. And so then a new host comes in, and before the new host comes in, they told me if I can train her, you know, before I leave. So I was like, all right, whatever, you know. And so I explained to her what happened, and that, because she asked me why I was leaving, so I explained to her, and like what happened, and like, you know, I was just not even afraid to not tell anyone, you know, like whatsoever. Like, I wanted everyone to know, you know, but just for them to like be careful and like know what kind of a person he is, okay? And so she sends me, like, maybe a month later, she sends me a message, and she's like, dude, this is happening to me too, like I don't know what to do, like, you know. And I told him, and I told her, and I was like, you need to tell the manager, and like, he better believe you, because this is the second time it freaking happens, you know. And so next thing you know, well, the manager talked to him. It was the second time, so the manager had to get rid of him, and that's what the girl told me. And so they got rid of him, and then she's still working there. So I'm definitely not going back. Like, I'm just gonna continue with school and, you know, not work for a while. But this is the reason why I had quit my job, because of people that were messing up with myself, you know. Like, I just did not feel uncomfortable whatsoever. Like, why did he even have to do that, you know? Like, I was getting paid really good, and, like, you know, but just because I was getting paid really good did not hold me back, you know? Like, I was not about to stay there just because I was getting paid really good. And so I ended up leaving, and I'm just living life now. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube. Hey guys, so I just finished editing this video. I just wanted to say thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.